Hello and welcome to happilyeducated.com. So, during my freshman or sophomore year of college, I started meditating because my cello teacher suggested that I should. And at the time, I was pretty faithful about sitting down every night to meditate. But although I enjoyed it and I think I got something out of it, after a year or so, I just fell out of the habit. And I think the reason that I lost interest in meditating was simply that I didn't have a compelling reason for doing it. Now, about a year ago, I started meditating again because I was not dealing well with my grief after having had a miscarriage. I was feeling depressed and stressed out, and I figured that meditation couldn't hurt. After all, centuries worth of practitioners and quite a bit of current research had basically proven that meditating can help people deal with stress and anxiety, and I had plenty of stress and anxiety to deal with. But more recently, I have not been feeling so stressed out. And so I've been considering, why should I continue meditating? What is it that I get out of it? And why is it worthwhile for me personally? And I've come up with 3 reasons why I should definitely keep meditating. The first one is to discipline my mind. The second, to maintain my sense of reality, a firm sense of reality. And the third is simply to recharge my batteries. And in this post, I just want to explain a bit what I actually mean by those 3 things. So first off, focusing on my breath for even just a few seconds has proven to be remarkably difficult. Breathing just isn't that interesting when compared with all the other millions of things that I could possibly think about. And so I typically lose interest after, well, actually instantaneously, and my mind starts to wander elsewhere. And for quite a while, I couldn't even figure out why I should bother trying to focus on my breath. But then I realized it's not about breathing, it's about focusing. Once I started to actually carefully listen to what was going on in my head, I discovered that my thoughts are wildly chaotic. I have frighteningly little control over where my attention goes. And since our lives are essentially made of the experiences that we pay attention to, if you pay attention to the good things that happen to you, you will experience your life as being good. If you pay attention to the bad things that happen to you, you perceive that your life is bad. I believe that to be true. So in that case, it's a real problem if you can't decide where your attention goes. So my first reason for meditating is simply to gain conscious control over the focus of my attention so that I can choose to pay attention to things that are worth paying attention to. And, I think of this as a disciplined mind, or you might think of this as the opposite of what Buddhists call monkey mind. So basically, I'm trying to get the monkeys out of my mind. Now, my second reason for meditating, last spring I took this meditation class in which the teacher recommended that we label our thoughts as they came into our heads. And she suggested four labels: planning thoughts, judging thoughts, storytelling thoughts, and one other that I just can't remember. And through doing this exercise, I began to see that an absurd number of my thoughts fall into the storytelling category. My brain comes up with all kinds of crazy stories and scenarios, both to explain things that have happened to me in the past and to imagine things that might happen to me in the future. And although, I very much appreciate the entertainment value of these stories. I could entertain myself for hours and hours just thinking. I recognize that these thoughts do skew my sense of reality quite dramatically. And I also have to admit that sometimes in my stories, I do not assume the best of other people, which is neither fair nor productive. So by using meditation to become more aware of what's going on in my head, I've become a little bit better about recognizing when my brain is in storytelling mode and then sort of reorienting myself back to reality mode. Now, third reason. At times, I have thought that meditation is an incredibly unproductive and self-absorbed thing to do. For example, in this meditation class, while slowly and deliberately eating an orange, the teacher encouraged us to think about all the people in the world who don't have access to sufficient food and to send them positive energy. And I remember just feeling so disgusted with myself because rather than actually getting out there and doing something constructive to help these people, I had just spent the last 10 minutes of my life caressing and smelling and savoring the flavor of an orange, which just seemed like such a selfish waste of time and energy when compared to how other people have to spend their time, simply struggling to survive. So when I expressed these doubts to my teacher, though, she sort of helped me put things in perspective. She told me that she meditates in order to recharge her batteries so that then she has the energy and willpower and self-awareness that she needs to go out into the world and do good. And I thought this made a lot of sense. Although I don't spend a lot of time doing good in the formal sense, it does take a fair amount of energy and willpower and self-awareness just to be kind and considerate to the people around me. And I know that might sound like a total cop-out, but I really do believe that meditation helps me keep my natural selfish instincts in check a little bit. And by the way, my teacher did agree that meditation can be a terribly self-absorbed activity if your meditation practice stops, when you stand up from your pillow. You gotta keep it going into the rest of your life. So, also, I should mention, there's a fair amount of research out there that indicates that meditation does help people be more empathetic and compassionate. So, the sort of positive effects on my character that I notice maybe are not totally in my imagination. And that's comforting, I guess. And I do certainly still fall into the trap of being a selfish jerk on a fairly regular basis, but at least I think meditation helps me be more aware of when I'm being a selfish jerk and keep maintaining that intention to be less of a selfish jerk. So maybe I'm making a little progress. I don't know. Anyhow, those are just my personal reasons for meditating. Obviously, there are many, 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 many other great reasons to meditate. And in some future post, maybe I'll talk a little bit more about meditation and mindfulness and what exactly those things even are. But for today, that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for watching this, and until next week, happy learning.